The airport was crowded that morning, filled with people dragging suitcases, calling loved ones, and rushing toward their gates. Among them was a young black woman named Lena. She clutched her small handbag tightly as she hurried through the busy terminal, her heart racing. She wasn't just catching another flight, she was chasing a dream. Lena had been waiting for this chance for months. She had an interview in another city for a position she'd wanted for years, something that could completely change her life. She had spent countless nights preparing, rewriting her answers, practicing in front of her mirror, even watching interview tips on her old phone. Now, all she needed to do was reach her destination on time. Her flight was scheduled to leave at 8:15 a.m., and it was already 7:40. The security line was long, and Lena bounced impatiently on her feet. She glanced at her watch every few seconds. Her palms were sweaty, and she whispered a little prayer under her breath, hoping things would go smoothly. Ahead of her, a mother struggled to keep her toddler calm while folding a stroller. Without thinking twice, Lena bent down and picked up the baby's bottle that had rolled under the conveyor belt. The woman smiled gratefully and said, "Thank you so much, dear." "You're an angel," Lena smiled back. "No problem at all," she said softly. Even though she was in a hurry, she always found herself helping others. Her friends often said she cared too much, that she should focus more on herself. But Lena never felt right walking away from someone who needed help. After she finally passed through security, Lena grabbed her shoes and ran toward her gate. Her flight was already boarding. She could hear the final announcement echoing through the speakers. "Final call for passengers boarding Flight 208 to New York." Her heart sank. She picked up her pace, weaving through people, her suitcase bumping against her leg. She was almost at the gate when something caught her eye. An elderly man stood near a row of chairs, struggling with his cane. His suitcase had tipped over, spilling his things: papers, a hat, a few travel documents. He looked confused and out of breath. People walked past him without stopping, too busy with their own plans. Lena slowed down. She looked from the old man to the gate, where the flight attendant was about to close the door. She froze for a moment, torn between what she wanted and what felt right. A small voice in her head whispered, "You can still make it if you run now," but her heart said otherwise. Lena turned around and hurried to the old man. "Sir, are you okay? Let me help you with that," she said gently. The man looked up, his eyes watery and tired. I dropped my things. My hands aren't steady anymore," he said in a weak voice. "It's okay," Lena said softly, kneeling to gather his scattered belongings. She carefully placed the papers back into his folder and helped him sit down. She noticed his hands were trembling. "Would you like some water?" she asked. He nodded. "That would be kind. I'm feeling a little dizzy." Lena rushed to a nearby vending machine, bought a bottle of water, and helped him take a few sips. His breathing steadied a bit, but he still looked pale. "Do you have anyone traveling with you?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, I was supposed to have an assistant, but she couldn't make it this morning. I didn't want to cancel the trip. I have important things to take care of." "I understand," Lena said. "Let me call someone for you. Maybe airport staff can help." She waved at a passing airport employee, but the woman said she'd call for medical assistance and hurried off. Lena stayed by the old man's side, making sure he didn't fall or feel worse. As the minutes passed, she heard another announcement. Her flight had officially departed. She closed her eyes for a moment, her heart heavy. She had missed it. A wave of disappointment washed over her. All her preparation, her hopes, her dreams, everything now seemed to hang in the air like lost luggage. She looked at the old man, who was still trying to catch his breath, and told herself it was fine. She had done the right thing. Maybe this was how things were meant to be. After a few minutes, airport medics arrived with a wheelchair. They thanked Lena for helping, and took the man for a quick checkup. Before leaving, he looked at her and said in a shaky but kind voice, "Thank you, my dear. People rarely stop these days. You remind me of how the world used to be." Lena smiled faintly. "Take care of yourself, sir." When he was wheeled away, she finally allowed herself to feel the sting of her situation. Her eyes grew wet, but she quickly wiped her tears. She didn't want anyone to see her cry. She went to the customer service counter to ask about the next available flight, but the attendant told her the next one was fully booked until evening. Her stomach sank. Evening would be too late. Her interview was in the afternoon. She thanked the attendant and found an empty seat near the cafe. The airport seemed louder now. the sound of rolling suitcases, chatter, and boarding calls echoing through the halls. She sat there motionless, staring at the floor, trying not to think about how badly the day had turned. Lena took out her phone, opened her email, and began typing a message to the company, explaining that she had missed her flight due to an emergency. Her fingers hovered over the send button, but she hesitated. Would they even believe her? Would they still consider her? She sighed deeply and looked out at the planes taking off. The sky was clear and the sun shone bright, almost mocking her bad luck. She whispered to herself, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. A few minutes later, her stomach growled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten. She walked to the cafe and ordered a small cup of coffee and a sandwich. As she waited, she thought about how life sometimes worked in strange ways. She didn't regret helping the old man. She couldn't. She remembered his tired eyes, his shaking hands, and how helpless he had looked. Maybe missing one flight was nothing compared to helping someone who truly needed her. Still, a part of her ached. She imagined what might have happened if she had run instead, if she had boarded that flight and arrived in time for her interview. She pictured herself sitting in a big office, confident and proud. Then the image faded, replaced by the quiet cafe and the reality before her. An hour passed, then two. Lena called her mother to tell her what had happened. Her mother, always calm and understanding, said softly, "You did what was right, honey." "The right thing never goes unrewarded." Lena smiled sadly. "I hope so, Mom." "Don't lose heart," her mother replied. "Sometimes blessings come in disguise." After the call, Lena looked around the cafe. People came and went, but she stayed there, lost in thought. She wondered where the old man was now. She hoped he was okay. A kind of peace settled in her chest. Maybe she wasn't on the plane she wanted, but she was exactly where she was supposed to be. She didn't know that this small act of kindness, one simple choice to help, would soon change her entire life in a way she never expected. The hours continued to move slowly. Outside, planes rose into the blue sky one after another, their engines roaring like reminders of what she had missed. But somewhere inside her, a quiet hope remained, a hope that maybe the universe was not punishing her but preparing her for something better. As Lena sipped her now cold coffee, she looked toward the terminal where she last saw the old man. She whispered to herself, "I really hope he's okay." Little did she know, the man she had just helped was not just any traveler, and though she didn't realize it yet, her small act of kindness had already set something in motion, something that would soon bring her a reward far greater than the job she thought she had lost. The airport was crowded and noisy that morning. People rushed past one another, some dragging their suitcases, others balancing coffee cups and passports. Lena tried to stay calm as she stood in the long security line, her heart beating fast. She had been waiting for this day for months, the day she would finally travel to start a new job in another city. Her flight was supposed to leave in less than an hour, and the line didn't seem to be moving at all. She glanced at her phone screen. The time made her stomach tighten. "Come on," she whispered under her breath, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. When she finally got through security, she hurried toward her gate, clutching her ticket and bag. She didn't even stop to get a snack like she usually did. Her mind was focused on one thing, making it to the plane before they closed the gate. As she turned a corner, she noticed something that made her slow down. Not far from the row of seats near gate 23, an elderly man was struggling to lift his bag. It looked heavy and he seemed weak. People walked by him, too focused on their own flights to pay attention. The man tried again to lift it, but his hand trembled and he almost lost his balance. Lena hesitated. She looked toward her gate. The screen above it was flashing final boarding. She felt her stomach twist and she was so close. But when she looked back at the old man, something inside her wouldn't let her walk away. She took a deep breath and hurried toward him. "Sir, let me help you," she said kindly. The old man looked up, surprised. His eyes were tired but warm. "Oh, thank you, dear," he said in a weak voice. "I'm afraid I'm not as strong as I used to be." "That's okay," Lena replied, smiling softly. "We all need help sometimes." She lifted the bag onto a nearby bench and asked, "Are you waiting for someone?" He shook his head slowly. "No, I was trying to check in for my flight, but I think I dropped something. I can't seem to find my wallet." Lena frowned slightly and looked around. Maybe it fell somewhere nearby. "Let's check." The man nodded, clearly embarrassed. I must be troubling you. You seem to be in a hurry. Lena glanced toward the gate again. The line had shortened. They were almost done boarding. But she smiled at him anyway. It's all right. My flight can wait a little. Together, they looked under the seats and along the floor. After a few minutes, she spotted something shiny near the leg of a chair. Is this it? She asked, picking it up. The man's face lit up with relief. Yes, that's it. You're an angel, young lady. Lena laughed softly. No, just someone who doesn't like seeing people struggle. He smiled, his eyes kind. That's rare these days. Everyone's always in such a rush. She nodded, glancing once more toward the gate. It was quiet now. The airline staff were starting to close the door. Her chest tightened. Oh no, she whispered. The old man noticed her worry. You're going to miss your flight, aren't you? He asked gently. She bit her lip and nodded. It's okay, she said quickly, trying to sound calm. I'll figure something out. He looked at her with guilt. I didn't mean for you to stay. You should have gone. Lena shook her head. I couldn't just leave you struggling. Planes come and go, but people matter more. For a moment, the old man didn't say anything. He just looked at her with deep admiration, as if he couldn't believe her words. When the announcement finally came, Gate 23 is now closed. Lena sighed quietly. It was done. She had missed it. The old man reached for her hand. I'm truly sorry, child. You shouldn't have done that for me. She smiled, though her heart ached. Don't worry about it. I'll talk to the airline staff and see if I can get another flight. He looked at her with concern. Are you sure? I can try to help. Lena shook her head gently. No, it's fine. Just promise me you'll be careful, okay? He smiled again. You remind me of my late wife. She always said kindness was the best investment you could make. Lena's smile grew softer. She sounds like a wise woman. She was, he replied quietly. They walked together to a nearby waiting area, where he sat down to rest. She asked if he needed water, and he nodded gratefully. When she came back from the vending machine, he looked at her thoughtfully. What's your name, dear? Lena, she said. And yours? Just call me Mr. Brooks, he said with a faint smile. Well, Mr. Brooks, she said playfully. Next time, maybe pack a little lighter. He chuckled, his laughter weak but warm. I'll try, but these old bones don't listen anymore. They talked for a few minutes. He told her he had been traveling for business his whole life, but now he just liked to visit his grandchildren whenever he could. He said airports had always been places of joy and goodbyes for him. Lena listened closely, fascinated. The way he spoke carried so much wisdom and calmness. It was like talking to someone who had already seen the world from every angle. After a while, she noticed the time. It was already past the hour. I should go to the desk and check if I can get another flight, she said. Of course, he said. Thank you again, Lena. I won't forget this, she smiled. I'm just glad you're okay. As she walked toward the airline counter, she couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. She had done the right thing. She knew that. But it still hurt that she had missed her chance. The job waiting for her was important. She had been saving money for months to make this move. At the counter, she explained what had happened. The lady behind the desk was polite but firm. I'm sorry, ma'am. The next available flight isn't until tomorrow morning. You'll have to pay a change fee. Lena's heart sank. Is there any way to waive it, please? I missed the flight because I was helping someone who needed assistance. The woman sighed, typing something on her computer. I wish I could, but it's against policy. You'll need to speak to a manager if you want to make a special request. Okay, Lena said quietly. Can I speak to one now? The woman nodded. Please have a seat. It might take a few minutes. Lena walked to a nearby chair and sat down, her thoughts heavy. She didn't regret helping the old man, not even a little. But she felt unsure about what to do next. Then, as she sat there lost in thought, she heard a familiar voice behind her. Lena? She turned around and saw Mr. Brooks walking slowly toward her, his cane tapping the floor. He smiled gently. Still here, I see. She smiled back, trying to hide her worry. Yeah, still trying to figure out my next move. He sat beside her. Did they give you another flight? Not yet, she said. It might take till tomorrow. He nodded slowly, then said, You know, I believe things happen for a reason. Maybe you were meant to miss that flight. She gave him a puzzled look. What do you mean? He smiled mysteriously. Sometimes life has its own schedule. You just have to trust it. Lena tilted her head, curious. You sound like you've been through a lot. Oh, I have, he said with a soft laugh. I've missed many flights in my life, but every time it led me somewhere I needed to be. She looked at him, wondering what kind of life he had lived. There was something different about him, something deeper, as if he carried stories no one else knew. They sat together for a while longer, sharing small talk and smiles. Eventually, an airport staff member approached them. Mr. Brooks, she said respectfully, your car is ready. Lena blinked in surprise. A car? He nodded at the woman. Thank you, dear. Then he turned to Lena. Would you join me for lunch? I owe you that much, at least. She hesitated, unsure. Oh, that's really kind, but I don't want to trouble you. It's no trouble, he said warmly. Think of it as a small thank you for your big heart. Lena hesitated for another moment, then smiled. All right. Lunch sounds nice. As they walked toward the exit together, Lena had no idea her small act of kindness was about to change her life in ways she never imagined. Lena sat quietly in the airport cafe, her coffee long gone cold. The crowd around her had changed several times since morning, new faces rushing past while she remained in the same seat. Every so often she checked the flight schedule board, hoping maybe somehow a new flight would appear that could get her to her destination earlier. But nothing changed. She leaned back in her chair and sighed. It's okay, she whispered to herself, trying to stay positive. Maybe this just wasn't meant to be. Still, the thought of missing her interview stung. It wasn't just about the job. It was about proving to herself that all her hard work mattered. She had worked 2 part-time jobs just to save for that ticket. She had borrowed a friend's suitcase, ironed her only formal outfit, and packed it carefully so it wouldn't wrinkle. Now all those plans seemed wasted. As she stared blankly at the people walking by, a man in a black suit approached her. He looked polite but serious. Excuse me, miss, he said. Are you the young lady who helped an elderly passenger earlier this morning? Lena blinked, surprised. Yes, I think so. Why? The airline would like to speak with you, he said with a small smile. Could you please come with me? Lena hesitated. Is something wrong? Not at all, he assured her. Just a request from our management team. Confused but curious, she followed him. They walked past several terminals until they reached an area marked VIP Lounge, authorized access only. The man opened the door for her, and a rush of cool, quiet air greeted her. The lounge was beautiful. Soft chairs, glass walls overlooking the runway, and the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. Lena felt out of place. She clutched her bag tightly and looked around nervously. I think there's been a mistake, she said softly. I can't afford to be here. The man smiled kindly. No mistake, ma'am. Please have a seat. Someone would like to meet you. She sat down near the window, unsure what was happening. Moments later, she heard a familiar voice. Well, look who we have here, the voice said warmly. Lena turned and gasped. It was the same elderly man she had helped earlier that morning. He was sitting in a wheelchair now, looking much better. His skin had regained some color, and there was a gentle smile on his face. Oh my goodness, you're okay, Lena said, genuinely relieved. I was so worried about you, the old man chuckled softly. Thanks to you, I'm much better now. I just needed a little rest. You were very kind to me earlier. I'm really glad you're doing better, she said, smiling. I didn't expect to see you again. He gestured toward the seat beside him. Come, sit down for a bit. You look tired. Lena hesitated, then sat down. She still felt nervous, unsure why she was there. The old man looked at her thoughtfully. You missed your flight because of me, didn't you? She opened her mouth to deny it, but she couldn't. It's okay, she said quickly. It wasn't your fault. I made the choice to stay. He nodded slowly. That's exactly why I wanted to see you. You had every reason to walk away, yet you didn't. You stayed to help a stranger. She looked down. I just couldn't leave you like that. Anyone would have done the same. He smiled faintly. I don't think so, my dear. I saw the way people passed by earlier. They all had somewhere to be. You were the only one who stopped. Lena didn't know what to say. His tone was so calm and sincere that it made her heart feel warm and heavy at the same time. After a pause, the man asked gently, Where were you headed? You looked like you were in quite a hurry. I had a job interview, she said softly. A big one. I was supposed to be there by noon, but I missed the flight. The next one isn't until evening. He said, leaning back in his chair. That must be disappointing. She nodded slightly, forcing a smile. It's fine. Maybe something better will come along. He watched her for a moment as if studying her carefully. Then he said, You remind me of my daughter. Lena's eyes widened a little. Oh, do you have children? I did, he said quietly, looking out the window. She passed away years ago. She had your same spirit. Kind, patient, always helping others even when it cost her something. Lena's heart ached hearing that. I'm so sorry to hear that, he smiled softly. Thank you. But seeing you today, it brought back memories. It reminded me that kindness still exists in the world. There was a gentle silence between them for a moment. The sound of distant announcements filled the background, but in that lounge everything felt calm and peaceful. The old man suddenly clapped his hands lightly. You must be hungry. Have you eaten? Lena shook her head. Just some coffee earlier. Then that won't do, he said firmly, signaling to a staff member. Bring her something to eat, whatever she wants. Oh no, please, Lena said quickly. That's not necessary. You don't have to, he interrupted her with a kind smile. When someone shows kindness, it's only right to return it. Reluctantly, she nodded and ordered a small sandwich and juice. As she ate, the man asked more about her life, where she came from, her dreams, her struggles. She spoke honestly, not realizing how easily the words flowed. She told him about her late father, who taught her to always help others no matter what. She told him how her mother worked double shifts so Lena could finish college, and how she wanted to make her proud. The old man listened carefully, nodding from time to time, never interrupting. When she finished, he smiled. You've been through a lot, but you've kept your heart pure. That's rare these days, Lena smiled shyly. I just try to do what's right. That's exactly what makes you special, he said softly. Just then, a woman in a navy blue uniform entered the lounge. She looked like a senior airline staff member. She walked up to the old man and greeted him respectfully. Sir, everything is ready as you requested. Thank you, he said, then turned to Lena. Would you mind waiting a few more minutes? I've made a few calls, Lena blinked. Calls for what? He only smiled. You'll see soon. She wanted to ask more, but something about his calm expression made her stop. There was a mystery in his eyes, gentle yet full of wisdom and authority. She wondered who he really was. A few minutes later, the same staff member returned. Everything is confirmed, sir, she said politely. Excellent, the old man replied, then turned back to Lena. My dear, how would you like to get to your destination after all? Lena frowned slightly. What do you mean? I've arranged something for you, he said. You'll be flying out soon, comfortably. Her eyes widened. What? No, I can't accept that. I already missed my chance. I'll wait for the next available flight. He chuckled softly. You're too humble. But sometimes when life closes one door, it opens another, if you're brave enough to step through it. Lena shook her head gently. Sir, I really appreciate your kindness, but I can't let you pay for me. You've already been through enough today. He didn't argue, just smiled knowingly. Let's just say, consider it a small thank you for helping an old man who had no one else. She didn't know how to respond. Her heart was torn between gratitude and disbelief. Who was this man really? And why did it feel like there was something more to his story? As they sat quietly for a while longer, Lena looked out the window again. Planes were taking off one after another, their engines roaring like promises in the distance. She wondered if maybe this time her luck was about to change. The old man looked at her with a kind smile and said softly, Don't worry. Good things always find people with good hearts. She didn't realize it yet, but his words were more than just comfort. They were a promise of something far greater waiting ahead. Lena sat near the wide glass window, watching planes rise one after another into the bright afternoon sky. She still couldn't believe what had just happened. A few hours ago, she was sitting in the cafe feeling hopeless, and now she was in the VIP lounge beside the same old man she had helped that morning. He looked calm, peaceful even. He had a cup of tea in his hand, and a faint smile on his face as if he had already planned something that she didn't yet understand. After a moment of silence, he turned toward her and said, My dear, I hope you're not in too much of a hurry now. Lena smiled politely. No, sir. I guess the worst already happened. I missed my flight, so there's no point rushing anymore. He nodded. Sometimes missing one flight helps you catch the right one later. You just don't see it yet. She smiled faintly, unsure how to reply. There was something about the way he spoke, calm but full of meaning. It made her feel as if he knew more than he was letting on. Soon after, a woman from the airline staff came in again. "Sir, everything is ready," she said respectfully. The old man nodded and looked at Lena. "Shall we?" She frowned in confusion. "Sir, I'm not sure what's happening." "Ready for what?" He chuckled softly. "For your journey. I've arranged something for you." Lena stood up quickly. "Oh, please, you don't have to do that. I really can't accept." He raised a gentle hand. "You can and you will. You gave up your chance to help me when everyone else walked past. That deserves to be acknowledged. Don't refuse kindness, my dear. It's a gift both ways." Lena hesitated, unsure what to say. "But I don't even know who you are." He smiled warmly. "That's about to change." He stood up slowly, leaning on his cane, and the staff member helped guide them both toward a private area of the terminal. Lena followed, still confused. As they walked, people glanced at the old man and whispered to each other. Some even nodded respectfully. Lena noticed, but she didn't understand why everyone seemed to recognize him. They reached a quiet section where a small private jet waited near the runway. The sunlight bounced off its polished silver surface. Two pilots stood near the stairs, ready and waiting. Lena stopped in her tracks. "Wait, this can't be for me," she said, her eyes wide in disbelief. The old man chuckled again. "It's for us. You're coming with me. I can't do that. I can't just get on a private plane." "I'm not," he smiled kindly. "You're not in trouble, dear. You're being helped. Sometimes in life, the people we help are the ones meant to lift us up later." She stared at him, her heart racing. "Sir, please just tell me who you really are." "I don't understand." He looked at her for a moment, then said quietly, "My name is Howard Brooks. I'm the founder and chairman of Skyway Airlines, the very airline you were supposed to fly with this morning." Lena froze. For a moment, she thought she had misheard him. She blinked several times. You own the airline?" He nodded slowly, smiling at her stunned expression. "Yes, I built it many years ago from the ground up. It started with one small plane and a big dream." Lena's mouth fell open. She couldn't believe it. The man she had stopped to help, the man she thought was just another passenger, he was the owner of the entire airline. She felt her face flush with embarrassment. "I had no idea," she said softly. "I'm so sorry if I—" He interrupted gently. "Don't apologize. You treated me like a human being, not like a name or a title. That's exactly why I wanted to see you again." Her eyes filled with tears she tried to hold back. I don't know what to say," he smiled. "You don't need to say anything. Just know that what you did today reminded me why I started this company in the first place. People forget that kindness is the best part of any journey." The staff opened the jet door and the old man nodded toward it. "Come along. Let's get you to your destination." "But sir," she said quickly, "I can't accept something like this. I don't have the money for—" He stopped her with a gentle shake of his head. "Did I ask you for money when you helped me?" She went quiet. "Then don't ask me for it now," he said with a kind smile. "Just take this as my way of saying thank you." With her heart pounding, Lena followed him up the steps. Inside, the jet looked nothing like the crowded flights she was used to. The seats were soft, the air smelled clean, and everything gleamed like new. She sat quietly near the window, still trying to understand what was happening. The old man settled into his seat across from her, looking relaxed and at peace. As the jet started to move, Lena whispered, "This feels like a dream." He smiled. "Maybe it is a good one." The plane took off smoothly, lifting them above the clouds. The city below became smaller and smaller until it looked like a patchwork of tiny lights and roads. Lena stared out, lost in thought. After a few minutes, the old man spoke again. "You know, my dear, when I was younger, I was always in a hurry, chasing success, building things, trying to prove myself. I built this airline because I wanted to connect people. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what really mattered, connection itself." Lena turned to him, listening closely. He continued softly, "When you helped me today, you reminded me that humanity still exists. You didn't know who I was. You just cared. And that means more than all the money in the world." Lena smiled faintly, her eyes misty. I didn't really think about it. I just saw someone who needed help. And that, he said gently, is what makes you rare. The plane glided smoothly through the clouds. For a while, they both sat quietly, enjoying the calm. Lena felt a strange warmth in her chest, a mix of disbelief, relief, and gratitude. After some time, a flight attendant approached and handed her a small envelope. "From Mr. Brooks," she said with a smile. Lena hesitated before opening it. Inside was a letter written in neat handwriting. "Dear Lena, thank you for reminding me that kindness still has power. You gave me your time without expecting anything in return. This world needs more people like you. Consider this journey a small part of something much bigger. Once you reach your destination, someone will meet you and take you to where you need to be. Don't worry about missing your chance. Sometimes the right door opens after the wrong one closes." With gratitude, Howard Brooks, as she finished reading, tears rolled down her cheeks. She pressed the letter to her heart and whispered, "Thank you." The old man smiled quietly, watching her reaction. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The look on her face said everything. After a short flight, the jet landed smoothly at her destination airport. When they stepped out, a car was already waiting near the runway. The driver held a sign with her name on it. "Sir," she said softly, turning to Mr. Brooks, "I don't know how to thank you for all of this." He smiled warmly. "Just keep being who you are. That's thanks enough." She hesitated for a moment, then said, "You really didn't have to do this for me." He chuckled softly. "My dear, if more people acted like you did today, this world would be a better place. You didn't do it for reward, and that's exactly why you deserve one." Lena nodded, her eyes full of tears. "I'll never forget this day." He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Neither will I." As she stepped into the car, Lena looked back one last time. Mr. Brooks stood near the jet, his cane in one hand, waving goodbye with the other. She smiled through her tears. She didn't know where life would take her next, but she knew one thing for sure. Kindness had changed her life in ways she never imagined. As the car drove away, she whispered to herself, "Sometimes missing one flight takes you exactly where you're meant to be." The car moved slowly through the busy city streets, the afternoon sun casting soft golden light across the buildings. Lena sat quietly in the back seat, her hands still holding the letter Mr. Brooks had given her. Every now and then, she looked out the window, trying to take in everything that had happened. It all still felt unreal. Just that morning, she had been sitting alone at the airport cafe, feeling defeated and lost. Now she was riding in a private car, sent by the owner of one of the biggest airlines in the country, a man she had met only because she stopped to help him when no one else did. Life really had a strange way of turning things around. The driver, a polite middle-aged man in a suit, looked at her through the rearview mirror. "Miss Lena will be arriving in about 20 minutes, he said. She smiled faintly. "Thank you," he nodded. "Mr. Brooks told me to make sure you're comfortable. He said you're very special to him." Her heart warmed at those words. "He's a kind man," she replied softly. The driver smiled. "He doesn't usually open up to people easily." "You must have left a strong impression." Lena didn't know how to respond. She simply looked back out the window, thinking about the old man's calm smile, the gentle tone of his voice, and the way he had treated her with such respect. After a short drive, the car pulled up in front of a tall glass building. The driver opened her door and said, "This is the company office, ma'am. Someone will meet you inside." Lena stepped out, her heels clicking against the pavement. The building looked modern and grand, with the Skyway Airlines logo shining above the entrance. She walked through the glass doors, nervous but curious. The receptionist smiled as soon as she saw her. "Miss Lena?" "Yes," she said quietly. "Welcome. We've been expecting you. Please, right this way." Lena followed her through a wide hallway filled with framed photographs, pictures of airplanes, smiling staff, and passengers from all over the world. At the end of the hall, the receptionist stopped in front of a large wooden door. "Please go inside," she said. "They're waiting for you." Lena's heart pounded as she pushed the door open. Inside was a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Behind a large desk sat a woman in a gray suit typing something on her computer. She looked up and smiled warmly. "You must be Lena. Please have a seat." Lena nodded, trying to calm her nerves. "Thank you." The woman leaned forward. "Mr. Brooks told me all about you. He asked me to meet you personally." Lena's eyes widened. He did? Yes, the woman said. He called earlier and told us what happened at the airport. He was very moved by your kindness. He said you missed your flight because you stayed to help him, and he wants to make sure that act doesn't go unrewarded. Lena felt her throat tighten. I didn't expect anything from him. I just wanted to make sure he was okay. The woman smiled. That's exactly why he wants to help you. He said people like you are rare. For a moment, Lena couldn't speak. She just looked down, feeling tears gather in her eyes. The woman continued. Mr. Brooks asked us to schedule an interview for you here at Skyway Airlines. He believes you'd be a great addition to our community outreach department. We focus on helping travelers, organizing charity flights, and supporting people in need. He said you have the heart for it. Lena's mouth fell open slightly. I don't even know what to say. That's incredible. The woman smiled warmly. Don't worry. Just be yourself. The team will be here shortly to talk with you. When the interview began, Lena felt surprisingly calm. Maybe it was the way everyone treated her with such kindness. Or maybe it was the belief Mr. Brooks had shown in her. She spoke honestly about her values, her past jobs, and how she always tried to help others even when things weren't easy for her. The interviewers smiled and nodded, clearly impressed. They asked her about ideas to make travel more human and compassionate, and she shared a few simple suggestions, like creating volunteer programs at airports and offering small comforts to nervous travelers. Her ideas came straight from her heart, and it showed. When it ended, one of the managers said, "We can see why Mr. Brooks spoke so highly of you. We'll be in touch soon." As Lena left the room, she felt lighter, happier than she had in days. Even if nothing came of it, she was proud that she had turned her day around, and that her kindness had led her somewhere meaningful. She walked back outside, the sunlight hitting her face. She pulled out her phone and called her mother. "Mom," she said, her voice trembling a little. "You won't believe what just happened." Her mother laughed softly. "Let me guess, your good heart opened another door?" Lena smiled, tears in her eyes. "Something like that. Remember the man I helped at the airport? Turns out, he owns the airline." There was silence on the other end for a moment, then her mother gasped. "What, you're joking?" "I'm serious," Lena said, laughing through her tears. "He flew me here on his private jet and arranged a job interview for me." "Can you believe it?" Her mother's voice was filled with emotion. "Oh, honey, see? I told you. The right thing never goes unnoticed. I'm so proud of you." Lena wiped her tears. "I just did what anyone would do, Mom." "Not everyone would have stopped," her mother said gently. "That's what makes you different." After the call, Lena found a small park near the building and sat on a bench, taking a deep breath. The wind blew softly, carrying the faint scent of flowers. For the first time in a long while, she felt truly at peace. A few days later, she received an email from the company. Her hands trembled as she opened it. It was an offer letter. She had been selected for the position. Her eyes filled with tears again as she read it. Not only was it a stable job, but it also involved helping others and exactly what she loved to do. She immediately wrote a thank you message to Mr. Brooks, unsure if he would even see it. To her surprise, a reply came the next day. "Dear Lena, I'm very happy to hear that you've joined our team. You remind me that success isn't measured by what we gain, but by what we give. Keep that heart of yours the same no matter where life takes you." With respect, Howard Brooks. Lena smiled as she read the message again and again. Months passed, and she settled into her new role. Her coworkers admired her humility and warmth. She always treated every traveler with patience and care, just as she had done at the airport that day. Sometimes she would look up at the framed photo of Mr. Brooks that hung in the hallway and smile. They didn't see each other often, but every time he visited the office, he made sure to greet her personally. He never made a big deal out of what she had done. He simply called her my good-hearted girl. One afternoon, as she was finishing work, she received a small box delivered to her desk. Inside was a golden keychain shaped like a tiny airplane. There was a note attached, to the woman who missed her flight but found her purpose. "Keep flying high." Lena held the keychain in her palm, tears filling her eyes again. She stepped outside, looking up at the sky where planes crossed paths far above. She smiled, whispering softly, "Sometimes missing one flight leads you to your destiny." Her story became a quiet reminder to everyone around her that kindness never goes unnoticed, and that even the smallest act, can change the course of someone's life, including your own. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Lena often found herself thinking back to that morning at the airport. The